when the Poles tried to free Warsaw from the Nazis tied Polish civilians to ladders and would use them as human shields. And the Polish freedom fighters were forced to fire through their own people because they said if they didn't, then the Nazis would just start doing it all the time. And the only way to stop it was to show them that they couldn't do it.
Mm.
And we also, when we fought the Japanese, people complain about how we bombed Japan, but how many people know that they were actually producing half-size weapons for little children to use if the Americans invaded? Like, it's just a mess, and there's no good options in war. And I really hope that we can do this with the fewest innocent children being hurt. But yeah,
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. No, that's there is no people are like, oh, they're killing the children are dying, so we should stop. Here's what everybody needs to understand: there is not a single option available where no children are being killed. The challenge here is not to find the option where children are not being killed. The challenge is to find the option where the least children or least civilians are being killed. The option with zero civilian casualty or zero children casualty does not exist. And we know for sure that the Islamic Republic continuing is not the option with the lowest number of children being killed. So we know that whatever happens, innocent civilians are going to die. We have to find which one is will have the lowest number of that happening. I know Iranian people are the number one fear. The number one fear of the Iranian people right now is not, oh no, the war is going to destroy some of our infrastructure. I know for a fact the number one fear of most of Iranian people is like, what if the Americans leave? What if the Americans leave without the regime falling? That is the number one fear right now. And in fact, let me show you this.
That on Sunday, didn't he? He said,
Yeah.
like, we won't leave.
Yep. Actually, I think that's what I'm. Yeah, he did. He did say that, and he said something else in the press conference as well. And look at this caption here. Steve is saying, because somebody posted this in Persian, and there's so many comments in Persian under it. And Steve said, "Look at the comments translated from Persian in response to this. If you want to know what the Iranians think, that's a good place to start." So let's see what President Trump said here.
Why would they want you to blow up their infrastructure, to cut off their power? Wouldn't that be punishing Iranians for the actions of the regime?
They would be willing to, they would be willing, and it's suffering, they would be willing to suffer that in order to have freedom. The Iranians have, and we've had numerous intercepts. Please keep bombing. Bombs that are dropping near their homes. Please keep bombing. Do it. And these are people that are living where the bombs are exploding. And when we leave and we're not hitting those areas, they're saying, please come back, come back, come back. These are the people. I don't know what they do. All I can tell you is they want freedom. They have lived in a world that you know nothing about. It's a violent, horrible world where if you protest, you are shot. Remember the great woman protests where they had 400,000, 500,000 women, and they were all enthused and they were going to protest, and everybody said, oh, the regime's going to come to an end. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, 5, 6 different areas. A woman would go down right between the eyes. They had snipers. They had 5 snipers. That's all it took. And those 400,000 or 500,000 women said, oh my God, what's that?
Okay, this part is very important because this part where he explained, because he's talking about certain videos that we haven't seen, and my understanding is that this is the video that Prime Minister Netanyahu showed President Trump that is not yet, public, in the 3-hour meeting that they had. Apparently, Prime Minister Netanyahu spent 1 hour of that showing videos of what happened in the protests early January to President Trump, and the report said that it made him sick that he had to get up and come back and watch it again. And the way he's explaining it right now, a lot of Iranian people, it really impacted them because this is the first time that he's explaining what happened in the middle of protests in such level of detail. And a lot of Iranian people said that they feel seen for the first time in their life. They feel really seen, like that he's actually the messages sending out like, yeah, please keep bombing, please keep bombing, and also him describing what happened in the protests. This is one of the most appreciated videos by President Trump by the Iranian people ever. So pay attention to this part, him explaining what was happening in the protests.
About it's a violent, horrible world where if you protest, you are shot. Remember the great woman protests where they had 400,000, 500,000 women, and they were all enthused and they were going to protest, and everybody said, oh, the regime's going to come to an end. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, 5, 6 different areas. A woman would go down right between the eyes. They had snipers. They had 5 snipers. That's all it took. And those 400,000 or 500,000 women said, oh my God, what's that? Oh, look over there. What's that? A woman shot right between the eyes. And after 5 or 6 of them go down, then you start hearing the purr through the vast number of people. And then they said, oh my God, who would do that? And they're incredible people, but they've lived so horribly. They've lived so horribly. You know, Iran was a great country if you go back 25 years ago or so. The Persian people, they're incredible, smart.
Yeah, this is the part some people got confused. They said, like, why is he saying 25 years ago? Like, shouldn't he have said 47 years ago?
The Persian people, they're incredible, smart, brilliant, actually. And I know so many. I know coming from New York, originally, I know so many people from Iran. They're incredible people, incredible energy, and very, very brilliant people. But when you're standing in a group and protesting and you have a woman, in the case of a woman, remember the Great Woman March, everybody was saying, oh, this is the end of the country. And then snipers selectively picked. Every single one was shot right between the eyes from a long distance. They were on top of buildings. Nobody even knew where they were, where they're coming from. This wasn't like a machine gun, which is also very bad. This was snipers sitting on the top of buildings, aiming and hitting women. And when they see people go down, and all of a sudden there's a riot in the reverse direction, and they never came out again. And a lot of the news doesn't talk about that. They talk about, oh, women's rights. You want to see women's rights? You're not going to see it there. It's amazing when I see some of the stupid people like, AOC plus 3, all that group. They talk about, oh, freedom for Iran. They don't tell you the real facts. Women, men, gays. How about gays for Iran? They kill the gays. They throw them off buildings. So I wonder what's going on. I can only say this. They want us to keep bombing, even if it jeopardizes, because their life is in much greater danger. They want freedom for Iran, but it's very hard for them to protest. I actually tell them, I said, don't go out. I fully understand. Nobody in this room would go out. I don't think there's any, because frankly, it's not a question of bravery. We're all brave, right? You're brave, I'm brave, we're all brave. But we're also intelligent. If you have people shooting at you, expert shots with the best rifles you can get, and hitting you right between the eyes every single time, and you're looking here and you're seeing and you're looking here, you're out of there. I don't care who it is.
Why
Yeah, let me see some of the responses by Iranians, for example. این تیری که از کنار گوش Trump تیری بود که از کنار من. Okay, so this Iranian is saying that the bullet that passed right by the ear of President Trump, it was also the bullet that passed by the ear of the Iranian people, because we survived when he survived. Basically, he's suggesting that if he was killed, Iranian people would have been fucked by now. And saying امروز به استادیوم دقیقا همینو گفتم به استادم همینو گفتم بهش. Okay, let me translate this with Grok for you guys. So it's saying, today I said exactly this to my professor. I told him that the nightmare in which Iranians have lived in is so terrifying that for a Westerner like you, it seems utterly unbelievable and even ridiculous. So they're confirming what President Trump said here. This Iranian account is saying, hats off to him. No president in the world has ever talked about these things with such detail. The rest are all silent and their tongues are up in their asses. Hats off to him. So that was another Iranian saying that. And then, so this Iranian saying he knows what's going on in Iran. For once, the Iranian people actually have a voice. this Iranian is saying, "Kamala mashakkhase ke." Oh, here, let me actually translate for you guys here. He's saying it's completely clear that he hears our voice loud and clear. I'm very happy about this matter. So many comments like this. This person, Iranian, how stylishly you've spoken. We love you so much, Trump. It just keeps going and going and going forever. So many Iranians are appreciating him. Look at this. It just, and the original post was in Persian, so these are all Iranians responding. It's just all messages of appreciation. Like the response, that video, the response to that is like so positive. I've never seen, and like if they loved him before, after that, after his recent comments, they love him 1,000 times more right now. The Iranian people. I've never seen anything like that. Okay.
To respond is Jeffrey.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like I always make it a point to reiterate that unlike any other president, President Trump heard you. Like when, in response to President Trump calling off the strike after the IRGC had actually hacked our drone that crashed inside, like it crashed. He's like, if there was a human pilot there, if there was an American pilot, he would have obliterated the base. That said, he called it off because the IRGC places military sites around civilian sites, and he's like, there would be he's like, I'm not going to kill Iranian people. And when Iranians made it a point to walk around the U.S. and Israeli flag in front of the university in Tehran, like he fucking saw that. Like he loved you, man. Like when you had guys like putting his name on signs and shit in Tehran, like he saw that. And when you said like how Donald had to walk out of the room, like, yeah, he was so angry with Bibi. There's two reasons he put those bombs on the plane. One was they're marrying the warheads to the solid fuel and all the escalation stuff, and the other one was what Bibi showed him. Like he hated that shit, man.